believe. Yes. I believe we are live now. It's just gonna be uploaded to like YouTube, the VOD after. Just don't don't oh well, pretty much just don't say anything that'll get you immediately banned off Twitch. That's all.
Don't worry, I won't.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. I see your live stream. Watch now. Oh, here we are. Okay, I can hear you.
Yes.
See. Okay, I just typed in your chat.
Yep. So now, for an actual now. Oh no, that's echo. Yes. Hello. This is the bonus one, an even lower resolution, because anything higher and it just kind of nukes itself, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, like I know, I like live stream a tiny bit myself, and it's like I know how it's so annoying sometimes, like to like see if the live stream's okay,
Yeah.
and it's like the echo and you have two people talking at once.
I'll just mute the tab because really that's what I'm after at this point, and it's off schedule. I have another one. This is just kind of like a bonus one, I guess. I'm just gonna like vibe by myself for the next one, but yeah, just whenever works for people. But this is ultimately it, and then that yeah. So what's some? So tell me, what's some recent developments? Just the most recent things with Slimekeep, because there's a story I know that's being worked on with around the sort of king slime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then okay, well, some things I've been working on is like I've that I haven't like that I'm gonna be uploading like the next vlog. One of
All
them
right.
is like a mini map. Um, then also like some like a fog of war effect kind of, which is like really nice. And
Yeah.
then I'm also like kind of working like I've added some smaller things like a chest system.
All right.
It's kind of like we after like a boss dies or something, you might drop a chest like and
Yeah.
then I've also been like animating a boat because I kind of had this idea. Well, I didn't have the idea. Someone in my Discord had the idea where it's like the way you can travel to the Slime King is like, yeah, there's like a river near your like house area, and so you can like get
Oh,
in a boat. Like, so yeah, that's pretty much all that's what I've been doing for the past few weeks, I guess.
just like coding stuff and just sweating out code. I get that.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I
I
mean,
just get the urge to just focus on one thing for a while. It's,
mhm.
it happens a bit. Yeah. And like the plans as well. Like with the river, it's also harder to like talk about like a game also as opposed to like the person. I guess because there's a lot to
Mhm.
talk about, but I need to prepare the questions in advance, which I'm not very good at, but I can make it work. That's the special part. So
Mhm.
yeah, like were there any major setbacks that a lot of the videos like don't show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think this is like just like a common thing in just like any game
Yeah.
developer like devlogs, because no one really wants to see like no one wants to see you say like, and I do mention things sometimes
Yeah.
like, but sometimes I might be stuck on something for like like hours, like days, like I'll just be stuck on something, having like no clue, making no progress, and I don't really like I might just say I was stuck on this for a really long time. Like I don't really that's why some people I see devlogs and think it's like really easy to like and there's no problems. But just in general, I can't. I mean, just some like big setbacks. I mean, I just ran in like I'm using this like I've been using this like asset for like procedural generation, which is
Mm.
like it's I would be nice to make procedural generation by myself, but like I'm not like compared to other game developers, not as like as as a programmer person, I guess. But so I use like this asset, and sometimes like I'll just get like really stuck
Yeah.
with it. Like thankfully I can email like the developer. He's like super nice. I like email him, and he like has sometimes will like help me out. But there's just been like times where
Mm.
it's really hard to like motivate yourself to work because you just like are stuck on something, making like no problem. And then sometimes it's just like one time I was stuck for like 2 days or something, like the whole entire procedural generation, which is like the backbone of my game, like wasn't working like at all. I had no clue what I did. And I probably could have just looked in GitHub or whatever and
Yeah.
found out, but it was just like one checkbox. Just one checkbox that I somehow unchecked that just broke everything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like the
yeah.
extent of my game development knowledge is, I think I got like 250 plays on Scratch once by completely nuking the code in Scratch.
Yeah, I have experience with Scratch also. It's
Yeah.
pretty pretty
It's
interesting.
pretty easy to just like change a bunch of the values and delete some of the lines, and it just becomes an amazing mess.
Yeah, you can just remix projects and just like kind of claim them as your own. I don't know if they still have that, but that was kind of funny. Like
Yeah.
copy someone's project.
Yeah, and then yeah, have you ever tried making anything with Flash, with the shutdown of Flash later this year?
No. I mean, like, really, all I just saw something like my recommended today about like how Flash is shutting down like end of this year, right? So that's, I mean, I've never, I like played Flash games, but
Yeah.
I only started like game development, like 2 years ago or something. I think it's around 2 years ago, and it's like if I started game development like maybe a very long time ago, I would have maybe tried to make a Flash game. But at this point, like it might be cool, but I
Yeah.
don't even like know any way how to make a Flash game. But it could be cool.
That's true. Uh, yeah, there are a lot of different like strategies to completing, actually making a game. Like, you can cut it down into tasks. You can just do a very chaotic approach of just making whatever you feel like, then um, releasing a mess, uh, which is what I like to do if I ever tried. Uh, but yeah, there's like a lot of things. Also, Trello is a good tool for that.
Yeah, sometimes like I just get stuck and like I still have like so much stuff I need to do for my game. Like I just looked at my massive Trello board and just like try to think of something. Like my game is still it kind of like stresses me out because like my game that I've been working on for like 7 months is like still not even playable. Like you can't play it at all. So like I'm trying to get it playable, but then at the same time it's just like in order to get it playable, I need to like do all this and like balance it. It's
Yeah,
kind of overwhelming. But I just try to like do like one thing. Like I just like okay, I'll make this chess system. Eventually gonna need it, or I'm eventually gonna like need a way to like get to the boss. So I just kind of
yeah.
chunk by chunk there, I guess.
And then uh when there's, yeah, I lost my train of thought there. That happens a lot to me, but definitely.
Hmm.
And sometimes there's oh yeah, with everything coming to you at once, with like all of the things you need to do. What I try
Yeah.
to do is I try and create like a base for something. This isn't for games specifically, but in general, is the strategy that I use. I try and make a foundation for something. Then I start working on building, like, in game terms, it's kind of like making an engine, then building a bunch of levels in mechanics, sort of.
Hmm. Yeah, that's like kind of like what I do in game jams, I guess, is
Yeah,
like the first thing you do in a game jam. Like I don't know if you've done game jams, but like the first thing, like everyone will tell you. Well, I don't know if everyone, but like is first thing you want to do is like make your core mechanics, like the things that your game actually needs, and then after you like have your core mechanics, which I mean I guess I kind of didn't really do in my game, so I kind of lesson learned there. But like you want to
yeah,
make your core mechanics, and then after that, like for my last game jam I entered, which is mine. Like first thing I did, just got the game, like all the mechanics. I just had super simple mechanics. After that, I just like made a bunch of levels, added art, polish, and yeah, we're good from there, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just that's kind of like a good idea, I guess, if you're making a game, do that.
yeah, and that yeah, the core mechanics do help a lot because ultimately that's just what the game is going to be.
Hmm.
All of the other things are just bells and whistles. Kind of, what sort
Yeah,
of keeps things going? Yeah,
yeah. The thing is,
it's the
like,
gameplay.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can carry on.
Yeah, like something I guess is like a good uh, lesson that I learned is like right after in like my game that I've been working on like started as a jam game, and then it's like the only
Yeah,
reason I really started working on it is because like well the video like was my most popular video. It kind of like blew up for me. And then also I got a bunch of like feedback, and I was like, oh, I should just add this. Like I was
yeah,
like add screen shake, but then it's like I wanted to transform it into a bigger game. So for like the first like few weeks I was working on it, I wasn't even like I decided like to turn it into like a roguelike, but instead of like working on
mm,
procedural generation or like actual essential stuff, I just worked on like adding new slimes and animations and particles, and I mean it's stuff that the game like now stuff that I made back then, like I just have to scrap it mostly because like the game has shifted so much. So, like I wouldn't recommend doing
yeah,
that. That's big.
yeah. It can be rough with like how much the idea can change from the core concept or like the finished product.
Yeah, exactly. Big thing.
And it's always a tough decision trying to get rid of something that you've worked on for a long time because obviously you've had
Yeah.
a lot of experience with it, but then sometimes you just gotta ask, is it worth uh, the improvement of the game?
Hmm. Yeah, there's like, I mean, I know I haven't really had to do this much yet, like scrap like a big mechanic per se, but
Yeah,
like I've had to, like, you know, I've learned like so much just about like programming and all this other stuff in the past like 7 months. Like I've gotten so much better that it's like I had to, rework like my whole entire, and I didn't really want to, but like in order, if I was gonna like if I'm gonna make this a big game, and I had to like rework my whole entire weapon script. I mean, it
yeah,
wasn't like that insane because it's just made for like a game jam, and but like I had to make it and so I can like easily create new weapons and have all that stuff worked out, and then also like rework my enemy system. Like
mm,
it's kind of tough, but I mean, if I didn't do that, that'd not be
yeah.
good.
Because when you start on a project and you don't really know what you're doing, so then you kind of work on what you think is going to get you there. Then as you get better, you realize that what you were doing at the start wasn't really the best way.
Like, yeah, that's like a really common thing. I feel like with game development, like I've heard
Yeah,
so many stories of like I don't know if you know Stardew Valley, for example. Like that guy, he spent like 4 years making his game, and like he said, he probably could have made it much quicker, but or faster, but he just like he didn't know that much at the beginning, so he like work on it. And then he'd
yeah,
have to like scrap all the art. You can like see the character portraits and like his art as like evolved over the game, so it's like that's I mean sort of like with me. Like I've had to, like replace a bunch of old. I mean not like it's not the same scale at all, but
yeah.
you get a bunch better as you know
Because I've noticed
develop.
that when people get into game development, they want to develop a sort of game idea that they have, but when they start, they realize that it's going to be a bit more difficult than they initially thought, with a lot of rewriting it, etc. And then after that, they kind of they realize that they're not as good as that, they kind of lose motivation for that game. So then they may move on to another one.
Hmm.
But then
Yeah.
the idea that they originally wanted to start, it doesn't feel new to them anymore, or it doesn't feel as like a thing, and they don't want to rewrite it.
Like yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, like it's, I can tell you how many like I know this is with a lot of other people. It's like it's just, I mean I like to say this. I mean I'm only like 7 months or whatever into my project, and most of that time like I wasn't even really working on that game. But like it's so easy just to like want to quit your long term project. I mean I don't I can't really say this because I don't have as much experience as like so many other people like,
Yeah,
but I have so many other like game ideas that I'm like this would be super cool. Then it's just like if I just like you know take a break and then work on that game, then I'm like never gonna come back to that old game I was working on. I'm feeling like, oh, then I have this idea, and you like never finish a game. So
yeah.
yeah,
It
it's
also
something.
applies for like a lot of creating things. Like for example, I made a wooden knife that I have here. It's about the sharpness of a butter knife, and I just had a bit of timber, and I thought this could be a knife. So then I just rasped down the edge a bit, and it works. I'm holding it right now, uh, but ultimately, with a knife or something, you can always take away from the original bit of timber, but you can't really put any on.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'd say there's a lot of like game development stuff, like game dev things that you face or encounter that like
Yeah,
go for the like every other single like thing you try to learn or like creative things.
true.
There's so many examples.
Yeah, and then you have to also, as much as you want to do your own game, you can do that when you start out, but then eventually, you'll also need to listen to the audience a lot. Like what I do is, just for everything in general. If I have an idea, I bounce it around other people's opinions, and I make as many changes as I can.
Hmm. Like, I mean, I could go on about that. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm like in a lucky position, I guess you could say,
yeah,
like that I have like a bunch of people, I can just like my game or whatever. So it's like what I do is like even just today, like I was working on this boat animation. I don't know if you're in my like Discord or if you can even see it, but like I
yeah,
made this first version of a boat, and like I was struggling with it for so long. I finally made something, and then like I got like a bunch of people to give, feedback that was like super nice, and it's like still not perfect, but I've made like with the feedback of people, I've made so many like improvements to this like
yeah.
simple boat animation. I mean, I've done that for so many other things, also
That's
art.
true.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this applies to games, but I try and like personalize the experience of the podcast to like the person, depending on like their responses. It's not like in a way that like harms them, but it's it's kind of like if people sort of have a more like serious tone to them, then I just make it a bit more serious as opposed to like uh people who are just like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, where it's not really me acting like different, it's just like different registers of speech, etc.
Yeah, you have to like adapt to your guest or whatever.
Yeah, and then yeah, in a way you also kind of adapt the game to what other people think.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's a massive thing. Like, I get so much feedback. Like I get so many people, especially at like the beginning. People are like,
Yeah,
add this, and I want to listen to feedback. Or I listen to like as much feedback as possible. The thing is, like, I'm sure everyone will tell you this. You can't listen to every piece of
yeah, it
feedback
gets a bit
because
overwhelming.
well, not only that
uh,
is
yeah,
there's some things like it gets overwhelming, but also there's just like some things that
mm,
people have like these super specific ideas like what I should add. I'm like not gonna so many some of them could be cool ideas, but like at the same time like I want to listen to as many people, and I've listened to so many people in their like feedback and suggestions and stuff and ideas. But at the same time, there's so many like things I've like, it could be cool, like potions. I don't know, could be cool or something. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's just gonna make the scope of the game like bigger. It's gonna like take more time, and it's also just like
Yeah.
more stuff added on that I you have to like kind of listen to feedback, but then also know what you like are trying to make and kind of like go from there. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a big
And
thing.
yeah, even in, well, still with that, it's also good to like let the audience know, for example, that although sorry in the stream if there was a beeping noise, that's the watch that goes off whenever it likes to. But uh it's good to let like the viewers or audience know that it's really well, you do listen, and as much as you can, eventually it does get a bit much, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the beginning. I mean, like
Yeah.
at the I uploaded that one video. I didn't really expect it to do that well, and then it's like, boom! I have like all these people just just like add this, add this. It's kind of overwhelming, but I mean, I've kind of got used to it.
Yeah. Because it's good to just know the scope of your game before you add ideas. That's also a good thing,
Hmm.
is to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I mean, scope is like a really big thing, and also just yeah. I mean, I could. I mean, some of these things, it's like I don't know, they could be cool, but it's like I was gonna add them. Maybe it's like I just want to get the game kind of like out. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to rush it, but I just want to like make a game and get it out there. And if I have like this other stuff that could be cool, just maybe I'll make like an update or something.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't want to like spend like so much time adding all this stuff. I kind of just want to get my game out and then kind of like improve on it from
Yeah,
there.
I get that. Action is good, but it's also a balance of everything.
Hmm.
That's probably the harder parts. One of the harder parts of game developing is getting the balance right between feedback, actually spending time developing the game, and thinking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. And uh, obviously, you get a lot of like joke submissions for the game.
I mean,
Well, some of them.
I mean,
Well, maybe not
I've
obviously, but some of them.
some, yeah. There's definitely some joke submissions. Like, I mean, some people, sometimes it's hard to tell if people are joking, I guess, but
Yeah.
most of the time you can kind of tell. I've gotten like a few people. I can't really think of any specific examples that are like just like add I don't know something ridiculous to the game. But then at the same time, like there's some things that like are kind of I don't know how to call people out, but it's like my game is like an all green color palette, and like I know these people just have ideas, but like I've had people say like add like a red slime or like add something like of a different color, and like
Yeah.
I'm just like, not. I don't think I'll ever do that because it just kind
It,
of takes away
yeah.
like the whole entire I don't know look
Because
of the game.
it kind of goes against the core of the game with the palette, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's not really a joke submission, but
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
yeah. Yeah, what are some other yeah. Are there any other like notable submissions that you don't really plan on adding them but they sound nice?
I mean, I've gotten like I've over this time I've gotten so many ideas. Like I've written
Mm.
them a lot down on my you know Trello board. Like just for example, like I have a ton of enemies just on my Trello board that are just like
Yeah.
I might add them, I might not. Like just like disguiser slime,
Mm.
teleporting slime, loot slime. Like these sound cool. I don't know if I want to add them, and also like I just like a ton of other stuff. Like I can't like I can't really think of like any specific examples,
Yeah.
but slimes like weapons,
And
could be
then
cool, but
actually implementing them when there's already a lot to be worked on.
yeah, that's the thing. Like the biggest thing is knowing what to work on. Like I could be adding so many slimes, but then the game would never be finished. So like as much as I want to add slimes and stuff,
Yeah.
it's not really like priority is a very big thing. Like when working on a big project. And then
Mm.
also it's like you could work on a slime and it's just spend all this time creating it, and then you might change like your vision of the game, and then everything's gonna get scrapped. So I just want to like get your you
Yeah.
know foundation, or like know what you're gonna make first
Yeah.
instead
A
of doing
base
it all.
game is
Yeah,
kind of the
that's what people say. It's like
mm.
you should make like get your game playable. Like I didn't really follow this, I guess, which few like
Yeah.
lesson learned, but like get your game playable, like make sure it's a fun concept, and then from there like add stuff and add on to that.
Yeah. But then yeah, with me I find it hard, even though that is the goal. It's really just a balance of everything.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I guess that's where the best game developers go for. That's kind of like a quality in that.
Yeah, balance. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah, I don't
things
mean
to be
like
done.
game balance.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like knowing like what to work on, and
yeah,
or knowing. Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, but yeah.
yeah. True.
Oh, and game balance is also pretty important,
Yeah,
but it's something different.
I think the saying goes, everything in moderation.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, if I just added a bunch of slimes to my game at the start, like I made 4 slimes in total. But if I can't imagine if I'm glad I didn't end up making like 50 slime, like spend all this time. Then I'd be like
yeah.
where I am right now, just have a bunch of
True.
slimes and like absolutely
Mm.
nothing to my game. So yeah.
Because if you add like a lot of slimes, then obviously that's going to be a lot of time not spent actually like working on uh the actual game.
Yeah, like getting the game playable.
Yep.
And that's what I was doing at like the first few weeks of my game. I said this benefits if you're like you should stop, it's good feedback. You should stop just like polishing your game and adding stuff that you don't really
Yeah.
need. Just actually get the game playable. And then I kind of tried to like stop working on polish. Like I was adding like one thing I specifically remember is like I would just like someone's like you should add shadows to your slimes. So I was like, okay, I spent some time making these like shadows, and then it's like now it's like I got some
Yeah.
like people like saying it like wasn't that like good, or didn't there's some like issue with it or something, and like now I'm just like remove them from the game for like the most part. It's like kind of just a waste of that time. You kind of like do that do that stuff
Yeah.
later.
It's kind of like drawing, let's say, like a house, really detailed from bottom to top. Once you finish it, it's going to be really wonky and etc.
Hmm.
Versus like just drawing a sketch of a house, then detailing it in little parts. Then it's going to make a better drawing with
Yeah,
the sketch first, as opposed to drawing it from the bottom up, fully detailed.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like uh, I mean, I'm no like artist. I do pixel art, but
Yeah,
like that's what I do in pixel. You make like the outline. If you don't like shade all this stuff first, you like do the outlines and kind
yeah.
of get the base, and then you like slowly shade it and add
Oh
details
yeah,
and that kind of
hey
stuff.
Chicken Hunter, there's no Discord command, but it's in the panel. It's in a panel on the bottom. I just give roles manually to talk, pretty much. Yeah, I'm good. Just interviewing BenBonk at the moment. From that, game developer, yes.
Yes.
And then, I'm not exactly sure how to set up a Discord command, but that would be a good idea for future reference.
I'm thinking like Nightbot or something
Yeah,
like that.
Nightbot would be a good idea. I'm not exactly like skilled with Discord bots or commands or anything, but I try and make it work. I guess I may get I'll just mute the server just in case people join and it makes a Discord joining noise. But yeah, that's really what I'm trying. That's what I should focus on. Is getting some of the basic functions working. I guess it kind of applies to games as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah. So more about Slime Keep.
Yes.
What what do you plan for the atmosphere to be?
Well, I mean, like the atmosphere of the game, it's like the whole entire theme of the story of the
Yeah.
game is that like the Slime King or whatever. It kind of sounds.
Oh yeah,
The
so it's
Slime King
yeah.
causes like a corruption upon. I feel like every game does this now. Like
Yeah.
curses like or the land where the player lives, and like there's corruption, and so it's like I guess the atmosphere would be like I'm gonna plan on like adding like a corruption effect that gets like
Yeah.
the game gets harder with like every day or like level kind of. So it's like I was gonna plan to like add a corruption post for like I don't know some effect to make like the level get darker and I, I don't know
Yeah.
how like exactly to describe
So
atmosphere,
yeah.
but
So it's a fantasy retro type thing, I assume.
yeah, yeah,
With
I guess I'd call
the theme that gradually gets worse. Well,
it.
not in quality, but in like the mood, I guess,
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
darker and more
yes,
somber.
yeah.
And then with that, I assume that the soundtrack would get more dissonant.
I mean, I haven't really thought of that yet,
Yeah.
but I that could be cool. Something like
Yeah.
that, I guess. Or I don't know. I still really haven't thought about music. I'm definitely not gonna make the music myself, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to like contact a composer and you know talk
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that out.
That's important to know is that the soundtrack is also very important
Mm-hmm. Very
because
important.
you want to make it fit. You may have noticed in like cartoons examples like Tom and Jerry, they had like cinematic pieces where there are certain like let's say there's a pluck of a string at a certain moment when they step on the floor. This is a very exaggerated example for games, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, like music can make or break a game, like for
Yeah,
sure. Well, I mean, not, I, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe not break, but like good music can like really,
make it pop
transform.
out from the rest.
Yeah, like there's some soundtracks that I like, like without the soundtrack, I don't think the game would be like nearly as good. Like, for example, Celeste. I don't know if you played that, or I played like a short hike recently. That has a really good soundtrack.
Yeah,
Like those games, like I mean, the soundtrack just totally, I think makes the game in some parts. Really
definitely.
adds to the game. That's why I want to be careful, like choosing, like a composer and getting all that worked out because I don't know, big big part of the game.
Yeah. And with that, yeah, music really does help with that. Music is like a stronger point for me, I guess, because like I guess I just work more with vibes, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, for example, like if you have an instrument that helps it stand out, like digitally composed, that's very common in retro type games. In fact, the majority of my experience is in just digital audio. And then adding like a bit of a blend of some organic instruments, not like organic as in food, but as in the type. Uh, they're just not digital, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think of like, like the Celeste soundtrack. I know I've said that, but like it has like it's a pixel art game, so it has like retro music in some
Mm,
parts, and it also has like piano parts and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I mean, I don't really know that much about music or anything, but I mean, that can be nice.
yeah. And to uh, to people looking for music for their game, is that uh, it's good with retro music. Often the mixing is less important, so it's a lot easier to get a finished product with that. Because with
Yeah,
other types of music, it takes a lot more refining to get it to sound good. But it's
actually, yeah.
very cost effective for the effort that it takes. Like I'm
Hmm.
not trashing on it. It's really good.
I think I know what you mean because like
Yeah.
I've I've made a few retro songs that really just for game jams that they're not good at all, but like I feel like with like beatbox or whatever, I'm just honest, I'm just randomly placing notes, and I I mean I'm not saying my song sounds good, but like it's maybe that's just beatbox being easy, but like I feel like I can just add a bunch of like random chip tune stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the best example, and it doesn't sound like good, but I don't think it sounds terrible. I
Yeah,
mean,
that sort of links to I think another quote I heard. I'm not a big like philosophy nerd, but something about like a beginner's mind, where there's something about that, where there are a lot of possibilities. I'm not calling like any of that like I'm not calling you like a beginner in a bad way or anything, but it's just like a where there are lots of possibilities for that. Like they can experiment more, and then it sounds cooler because more
yeah,
experienced ones are used to the conventions and etc. and can't really be bothered breaking the rules of it when that's kind of how it works.
I can't break the rules when I don't really know the rules. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I just
there's not even rules. It's just
like
what sounds
theory.
good.
Yeah.
I'm making it way more complicated than it should be, but if it sounds good, then it's good.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then yeah, the there's a lot of inner mechanics behind it, I guess. But at the
Hmm.
core of it, it doesn't really matter. You can just make music.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many like layers and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Like, what's your typical process for making like a song? Like your thought process.
Okay, well, from the two songs that I've made in like box, like I sometimes I have like ideas like what I want to make, but
Mm.
like not exactly, but like it's kind of hard to do in beatbox because like I don't know if you know that it's like very limiting, but
Yeah,
like I
I do a bit of beatboxing.
yeah, like I can I don't really know how to execute them first of all, but like I guess my process is like sometimes I guess I'll like start with like the drum beat and just like randomly play some of those like chiptune thump kind of
Yeah,
sounds, and then I sometimes go to like I don't know the terminology, like the
that's fine.
like it's like the thing, like the main part of the song, like the melody or
Melody,
like
yeah.
yeah, and then after that, like sometimes I'll add like and like I know there's like music theory and I
Yeah,
don't know anything about
music
that. But
theory is kind of boring.
yeah, I have no clue about that kind of stuff. But then
Yeah,
I'll like go
it
down
doesn't
and just
really matter
add
as long as you're enjoying making music.
like after I make like I don't know, kind of like a tune, I guess I'll like add some like long like
Chords
I can't
for a
yeah they're
bass
like
line?
yeah like a bass line kind of, but I usually can't even like really hear it that much. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then I don't know, most of it's just randomly
Yeah,
doing that kind of
that's a
stuff.
valid way to make music. I wouldn't say there's a wrong way. There isn't really a wrong way to make music. It's just whatever works. And that's
Yeah,
good. As long as you're having a good time making music, then it's fine.
I mean I would say I'm I'm like I music's definitely not like my
Yeah.
passion or whatever. Like I usually like I have like a friend who kind of usually does like the music for me, but like in some game jams, like I
Yeah.
might only have to do everything by myself. It's like I usually think I'll just like stick to a composer, but it can be interesting to mess around with
Yeah.
like no musical knowledge.
I apologize if I'm like steering this podcast in like the way of like music, etc. I'll keep it related.
Yeah, no, don't worry.
Yeah, it's like the actual game development thing, but tangents are good. They pad out time is what I think is.
Yes.
Since this is just like a bonus one, it can like run for pretty much any time, like an hour, 90 minutes, whatever.
Hmm.
So it's not a big deal. It's the main scheduled ones that I have to keep to like 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um uh I'm
Like,
thinking. So the keep it alive theme, I imagine, is what sparked the idea for it. Yeah.
yes. Mm. Oh, go ahead.
So from that, yeah, like, did your brain have any like process for getting to the idea of slimes, Sarah? I know it
I
is
mean,
a common theme.
yeah, no, the thing is, like, most game jams, like, I could spend, half an hour just thinking of ideas, but, like, for that game jam specifically, like, that was, like, I think the only game jam I really entered where it's, like, I just instantly knew, like, first 5 minutes, I was like, okay, that's that's an idea. Like, I just thought, like, keep it alive, your brain kind of, like, goes through, like, well,
Yeah,
what can you keep alive? And then I just thought, I was like, I don't know, enemies. You can keep enemies alive. Like they weren't originally gonna be slimes. But I just thought like, okay, I can make it slime themed. But like, then I was like, keep enemies alive. And then I was like, well, if you're gonna keep them alive, like maybe it's like risk reward. Like the jam game didn't have like that good execution. Like I'll admit the like execution of all of it like really wasn't that good. Like,
yeah,
but like it's like the bigger they go, like I kind of had this idea like risk reward, like the
yeah,
bigger a slime is, like the more points you'll get. So you want to keep slimes alive, but like that's a game that this is you want to keep slimes alive and they'll give more points, but at the same time
yeah,
it's like riskier, I guess, because more slimes. I was gonna do something like they're like fast or something. I don't think I really did that
yeah,
or have more health. And like that's something I still use in my game today. Like I really like the theme, like the idea of like risk reward. Like that's like a big thing in
yeah.
my game
It
today
is.
because
But then
it's
there's.
like
Oh yeah, carry on.
go ahead.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's like you can still keep the slimes alive and like get more like money from them,
Mm.
or then you can also like have the like I also like have a big thing on like choice,
Yeah.
I guess. You can also like choose
With
like
that,
capture the slime,
yeah,
and then also you
mm.
can choose to like fight the king whenever you want. That's like my plan for now. Is like
Yeah.
so you want to be prepared enough, but like it gets harder every day. So it's like risk reward. Do I start a new
Mm.
day or do I just fight the king?
But one thing that you may need to account for is the fact that a lot of or a certain chunk of the people like to play the game incredibly safe,
Mm-hmm.
like with that. So, with an example, XCOM 2, there was a thing where people like to take a long amount of moves. So then,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. I know what you're gonna say. Like I saw some
yeah.
video on this.
Yeah, I saw
Continue,
the
go ahead.
same video where it's like they put a limit on the moves that you can make to pass the level, but then that kind of caused a bit of an uproar. So then they just made it a reward for getting it within a certain amount of moves.
Oh yeah, well, like what I was gonna say is like I thought I saw something like I never played that
Hi.
game, but I thought I saw something where it's like they added like a time limit,
Yeah,
and then it's like some people like really hated the time limit, and so it's like they made like a mod just to like remove the timer.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, Chicken Hunter. Yeah, this is just like another thing. Also, a Flash game I played kind of has a similar premise. Don't worry, it's quite different, but the sort of amount of days thing, uh, with like a boss, except you have to progress. Yes, this
yeah.
is a podcast, Chicken Hunter. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it changes tone depending on the guest, because like this would be like a more like serious and in-depth one versus like a meme one, like the one with I did with Femboy Cooking. And with that, it sort of gave you a rank overall for completing it faster.
Yeah.
So the shorter amount of days that you completed, the better rank you get. Was kind of what it was at. What was it? It was like Pocket Monster PvP or something. And people are talking outside of my room, so yes, I apologize for that.
Or I can actually say something on that. It's
Hmm?
like I remember seeing like a Mark Brown video. I don't remember which
Oh
one it
yeah,
was, but he was talking about how like there's this one game. Like I don't even remember the name of it, but it was like this game where you have all this thing you have to like make contraptions to like or make like these machines and stuff. And instead of like punishing the player for like making their machine inefficient, he just like reward them instead. So it's like if you want, you can
yeah,
build this like really bad machine that like works, but it's like very inefficient. Or instead, you can make like you can just try to make the most optimized machine. So like I mean that's something I'll have to think of. I still have a lot of brainstorming to like do on those kind of matters, I guess.
yeah. Then there's like, yeah, because ultimately people, you may not notice it, but the people that actually play the games, uh, their intent isn't always to like fully finish the game. People like breaking games, taking apart games, just messing around, speedruns, etc.
Hmm.
So it's also good to just keep those in mind.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Also,
like
you can
such a
throw
good.
bricks at the screen.
I mean, like roguelikes. I think it's a big thing on
Yeah.
like genre. All like, like I think Enter the Gungeon is just like a good
Mm.
example. Like you can beat the like you can. Some people like still upload Into the Gungeon content. Like it has so much stuff you can do. But, like you
Yeah.
can. A lot of people like I've heard. I don't know if the statistics like accurate. It's like I don't remember the exact numbers. Like it's like a big percentage of people like actually haven't like beat the game or like killed the dragon, but then there's
Mm.
kind of like no definition of like beating the game because I don't know if you played the game, but like there's you can like beat the final like level or floor 5 boss, which is like this big dragon guy, and like you think that beats the game, but then there's like a sixth floor or a sixth level, and there's all this other stuff you can do. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah. So you can't just beat the game and just like feel accomplished, or it gives like the option you want
Mm.
to go even further, I guess.
Yeah. Also, could you talk more about your inspiration from Enter the Gungeon?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting because it's like it the process like that I didn't intend for this game to be a roguelike. It's
Yeah.
kind of I'm inspired by Gungeon, but Gungeon didn't like inspire me to make the game. Like
Yeah.
actually the only reason, and this sounds ridiculous, this sounds like the way to set up for like a really bad game. Like, but the only reason my game is like a roguelike and where it I'm pretty happy like where it is right now, but it's because like right after my video blew up, there's like a few people in my Discord server, and they were like, I was like, guys, what should I like make this game into? I want to like develop it more. And like at that time, there was like
Yeah.
a few people who like the majority of people, which is only like 15 or something, said like, oh, you should make it into a roguelike. And I was like, okay, like at
Yeah.
that time I hadn't played Gungeon like at all. Uh, and so it's like I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't know, and this doesn't sound
Mm.
like a good way to make a game, like how you should choose to make a game. I mean, I'll see where it goes,
Yeah.
but then it's like after that, it's like I started playing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a roguelike, and then I started playing like Gungeon. Then like
Mm.
at a point, it's like I saw it was really difficult because like I saw so many like things that like this would be super cool in my game, but it's like can't add it because like Gungeon already does that, and it was really hard because like I played so much of Gungeon, it's like my
Yeah.
whole entire like mind was just like okay, like I had this problem. Like I was like really, scared. People were like, "Oh, this might be like a Gungeon clone or
Mm.
something," and it's because like everything I was thinking of was just like, I'm like, what should I think of? Like, what should
Yeah.
I try to add to this game? And it's just like my mind just instantly like thought of Gungeon. So I
Yeah.
ended up, adding a bunch of like I don't. There's like a word like like subconscious like plagiarism or something like that. So it's like I'm
I get
trying
that.
now to think of like more like that's the
Yeah.
big. I know I was trying to think like of how my idea for like the progression system
Yeah.
just like kind of was born off like okay, I want to make my game progress differently. I was like, how can I make my game different from Gungeon? I was like, well,
Yeah.
what happens if I add this day system? And then I thought of like fighting the Slime King, and
Yeah.
kind of went from there. But
You
yeah.
may be being a bit harsh on yourself because plagiarism is like directly taking someone else's work and claiming it as your own. It's a bit of a looser definition, but with that, a heavily inspired it's not because at the gameplay it didn't start off as something for that. It just
Yeah,
changed that way.
I wouldn't say like I was really like plagiarizing, I
Yeah.
guess, but like it's kind of I see some people in like the comment section are like, "Oh, this looks like it's gonna be just like another Gungeon clone." I'm like, "Oh man, I don't want my like game just
Yeah.
like I don't want to spend something for like months or like years making some game and people just
Yeah.
like this is like Gungeon clone." Like no, I want it to be like I'm fine if people say like I've had people say like so far like, "Oh, this is a mix of like Gungeon and Slime Rancher." Like I've never
Yeah.
played Slime Rancher, but like I'm fine with like that because that's like taking like two games that like I didn't really think about this, like taking two
Yeah.
games that like worked. There's a lot of games that have done that. Like take two games that have worked, you know kind of make something similar, like
Mm.
so yeah. But I just don't really be like a
Yeah.
cop or be I don't know.
So in a kind of way, it's sort of like you don't want this thing that you've been working on for a while to be dismissed as like just another copy of something when you've spent a whole chunk of your life just working on it.
I mean, yeah, like that would not be that much fun.
Yeah,
Like I want
I
it to
get
be
that.
like, oh, that's slime keep. That's not like I think you know what I'm saying.
Mm. Because at its core, it is Slime Keep. It's got its own distinguishing features. It works.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the features, just like I don't even know if they're like good features at the time. Like I'll still have to see. Like I'm still pretty early in development, I guess.
Mm.
It's been 7 months, but it still feels pretty early. But it's like I still have to, see like, is this like like a lot of these mechanics are like, okay, I'll just add this because like it'll make my game unique. Like, and that's for like the capturing and I'll just have to see if like you want most importantly you want your like gameplay to like fit and like feel work together, like you want all your mechanics like work together. So I mean, I'll just have to see. I hope everything, you know, I'll see because like the core of my game is like letting slimes grow and capturing slimes, but like I don't want that to be like boring. And so I mean, I just have to see. I mean, I have to like remove some mechanic or change
Mm.
stuff eventually. I know I will have to, but yeah, I'll just see.
Yeah. And then a good way to differentiate it is, in a way, people would add like some form of bells and whistles or gimmicks or something, but that's not really what you do. Is that you integrate it, a different sort of mechanic that makes it separate from the other ones
Hmm.
that sort of fits into it. Uh, like for example, adding like a pet slime.
Yeah.
That would be a very good sort of way to keep it like it could like play a big part in the story.
Hmm.
I'm trying my best
Yeah.
not to like give like suggestions for what you should do. I'm
Yeah.
just
No.
trying to give insight, really.
Yeah. Yeah. No. 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 You're fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the the pet slime, kind of also originated from like a whole my just mechanics in my game just originated from like I need to make my game unique and it's like yeah.
Yeah. I struggle with like trying to be unique with things as well. That is a bit of a struggle of mine. But at the end of the day, while I'm just doing my own thing, I get to meet people, I guess. Because this whole podcast thing just started from an idea thing is like, I need something to do. I'll just start a podcast, and here I am.
Hmm.
Um, plan on doing this quite often, at least once a week, and then with some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of your ideas, or a lot of just everyone's ideas, just stem from like everything you've heard before, or like
Yeah,
heard or seen before that. Like I don't know, like an example of that is like I remember like I saw, I don't know, it's like I don't know if you ever watched like Drew Gooden or something. He made like some video. He was talking about like how it's just one part of his video. He was like that he was for example he was like randomly just one day like playing the guitar and he just like started like making some I don't know the term like riff or like some you
yeah,
know tune or something uh like randomly just from his head and he was like oh this sounds like really good and then he was like the next day it's like he listens to this like song and he's like oh wow my like this sounds like super similar to the thing I just made you know other day and so it's like you're kind of just like
yeah,
influenced from what you experience and like that goes for like every game dev is like influenced from games that they've played and it's same with like every creative other thing I'm sure
mm,
every musician is probably influenced from other musicians and artists and so on.
yeah. And something just kind of sparked in me from when I from podcast two when I managed to talk to myself in 90 minutes. Something I felt like I maybe like talking about myself a bit much here, but then I was just like, this is something I really like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went out and I really just had to ignore some of the conventions like for example, I'm going into training instead of school. Like,
Training.
obviously, school is a good idea. It gets a basis for foundation. But once you really know what you're going to do, and you have a career and plan and everything, then it's good to execute it.
Hmm. Wait. Do you mean like training, like an internship or? So
Yeah,
I, okay, sorry. I think the word might be
yeah,
different. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to do. I still have like time to think if I want to like. I mean, I don't know if I want to do make games, full time on because
yeah,
still have time to think about that and stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, I like to do something, I think, in the computer science field, but like,
Mm,
who knows where I'll be like 10 years from now when uh, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I just have to see.
Uh, just a bit of insight is that if you make something that you love doing your job, eventually you'll feel like obligated to do it, like you have to or something. So I like to keep things separate. That's also a part of the balance is learning what to do for it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think of like bracky. Like,
Yeah,
I like making games. It's like I feel like I could make like right now. I think I can make games for like forever. I have so many ideas. Then of like I just think of like bracky's. Like he's like I don't he stopped. It's like he's been doing game dev for like 10 years. He stopped or took a break from game dev temporarily at least.
yeah,
And it's like if I was in his situation, it's like if I've been doing something for like 10 years, like I can see how he's like tired and like wants to try different stuff. So like even though I mean I don't know if I'm gonna still be doing game dev, and I don't even know if I'm gonna like finish my game.
yeah.
And like I really hope I can finish Slime Keith, but I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see.
What matters is that you made a game and that you dedicated to it.
Yeah.
That's what really matters. Even just one game, one playable demo is a success because that's one idea that you made and it's yours, even if it may have like inspiration from other sources.
Hmm. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, an hour flew by. This is
I know. Wow, it's already been an hour.
yeah. If you wanna end the podcast here, we can end it. If you're a bit tired, that's fine.
I mean, I'm fine to go longer. I, whatever you want.
Yeah. With me, I'm getting a bit tired, and I want to go to talking to different friends. I like getting a bit of break. The longer
Yeah, yeah,
podcasts are for like there's like a bonus one where pretty much any time goes as long as I'm awake.
yeah. I think like I'll probably play some. I try to have like a balance like
Yeah,
during the like I don't know what time it is for you exactly, but it's like nighttime for me. And it's like every night I just try to like you know play games like with my friends and take a break from like I don't work on my games like all day long.
yeah,
It's like I always try to you know
and
have balance, I guess.
even the viewers need to know that you still have like a life apart from developing games.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I guess so.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not
well,
like
yeah,
I'm like
well, I mean, for me at least, even
yeah,
like eating and sleeping is a life apart from that. For me,
yeah. I know. I definitely say like I'm not just like making games
yeah,
all day. Like I try to do other stuff, I
as
guess.
much as we can. It's about the balance, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, do you we can discuss sort of like ending the podcast here. Do you have any like closing statements?
Um.
Like,
Let's see. I mean, I guess I don't know if anyone hears this and is like planning to make a game or something. I guess a small piece of advice. I know everyone says this is just like I don't know if this is what I'm gonna say, but like start small. If you like want to make a game, I just recommend doing it. Like start small. Try to like don't get too ambitious at like the start. Try to make your first,
Yep.
like small games, like, and just build on from there. Like, don't don't try to make it like, it's not
Yep.
just as harsh as this sounds to say. Don't make your like dream game. And, just try to prove your skills and
True.
it's
Because as
learning
generic
process.
as that may seem, there's a reason why everyone keeps on saying it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know exactly, like, I know how it feels to like want to make your dream game. Like, you're starting out and being a developer. It's like you want to make your dream game. You want to, like, you have all these ideas. Like, you're just like, I'm just gonna do this. It's like you hop in and you have like no clue what you're doing. Then you get like stuck and you just like uninstall Unity and you like never come back. And so yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. And just if I could request that maybe like in order to reach this to more people about like some messages and etc, if you could just like post it on the YouTube community feed or like on the
Yeah,
Discord or something.
I can put it on my
Yeah,
Discord.
you don't have to. Like, this is just
No,
like entirely a request. You don't have to feel obligated to do anything. I always
yeah,
keep I always give people a choice.
yeah, no, I'll put it on my Discord.
Alright.
I don't really use my community that much. I kind of like try to save that for like really important stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but I'll do it on my Discord announcements,
Alright.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely. Alright, and that seems to be the time for that. It's about an hour of insightful talk. I'm kind of out of serious mode now. Now I'm just kind of yeah.
yeah.
I only have a certain battery of insightful talk. Yeah. All right.